Hello, this is Jefferson Aldridge from givingisgood.org. Today I've got some friends with me. They have a very interesting 501c3. I've got Joshua Santillian and I also have Sergio Santos from Central Arts. And then they have two locations, Central Arts of Bedford and Central Arts of Hurst. So a local nonprofit, they do something very unique. You know, that's the one thing about being able to find some of the nonprofits that are local. They all do a lot of very unique things. Well, these guys are doing art as a nonprofit, giving back to the community, to children. They've got children's classes after school. They've got special needs classes for special needs children. They do art classes for adults. And then they're working within the community with the cities for other programs. So, I mean, it's hard. Just think about trying to do and teach art on a daily basis. And Josh, who also has a spray foam company, he did the spray foam in our building, in our new facility here. So he's got a full-time business and running a full-time nonprofit. And then Sergio's helping him all day long, doing all kinds of stuff. Single father of three, right? So not only being a single father of three young children.
Rumors spread, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, when you look at what it takes to take care of a family and then be a single father of three, working in a nonprofit, man, that's huge. And I appreciate what you do, and it's super cool.
Somebody else was talking about that the other day, and I said, they're like, we know you're so busy because of the kids. And I said, if I didn't have the kids, I'd be this busy. So.
Yeah, I get it. You just you want to go. You want to do stuff.
I would have tons of projects anyway. So.
Yeah. And you
kids just make it more fun.
But you're also an artist too.
Right? Yes, that's the core of me. And I would argue that's the core of Central Arts.
Yeah.
We have 4 pillars, and the first starts with artists, because there's the belief that if you cultivate, you nurture, and you encourage the artists, then you have leaders. And that's where we start. We do shows, exhibitions, pop-ups, any opportunity that we can give an artist to make money and thrive and see that their creativity is worth something. That's primary. Second is affordable education to the community. Because who runs those programs? It should be run by artistic minds.
As opposed to corporations who don't necessarily have artistic thought process in the sense of...
Well, they probably don't have interest.
Yeah.
Third is community outreach. We go into the community. We see a need. We meet that need as best as we can. And fourth is economic development. We believe that all of these things together make economies thrive locally. So anyways, that's my speech.
I was thinking back when Josh was telling me about whenever y'all put in a location and then you put in a second location and then y'all were in empty strip centers, right? In empty office, well, not office buildings, but like older retail strip centers. And y'all put it in your artistic thought process, make it look super cool. People are coming to that area, right, all the time for these classes, and it's lit up at night, and people are looking in the windows, seeing something, all this different art and kids working on stuff and parents working on things. And then all of a sudden, an empty strip center turns into economic development, right?
Yeah.
Would you kind of walk people through that thought process? Because when you started telling me about that, and this was like last year, I was like, that's pretty cool. From a business perspective, when you combine art and business, because that's combining art and business, it's interesting to how you kind of walk me through that. Fill people in on that, because not everybody gets to hear or see that kind of thought process.
Okay, so what happens is you take an empty shopping center And most of the community is annoyed because it's just an eyesore. It becomes this dinosaur of a relic that's just sitting there empty. And so what we started doing is we just started building walls, throwing up artwork, bringing the community involved. We went to Facebook and just did a big call for art. And the first show we did, we had about 30 different artists that had never shown before. So we gave them an opportunity and a vehicle to do something, which was actually pretty exciting. We brought food trucks in and we just made a whole event out of this shopping center that had just been vacant since 2004.
Wow.
And 3 years later, the entire thing's completely full. And yeah, so we're doing the same process over in Richardson, where we're building walls and we're putting up artwork, and we're going to help them revitalize their downtown because it's such a success in Hearst and Bedford that they sought us out and said, hey, this is important to us because we have all these empty buildings, and how do you get them leased fast? And it's just engaging the community.
Do you think, if as a business perspective, it's one thing as a nonprofit raising funds, you're always, the world is always about, hey, how do we raise more funds to help more kids or do whatever your cause is focused on, right? It's interesting that you can go and pitch this idea or this thought process because you can show where these centers were, these strip centers were, and where they are now. Like, y'all have got before and after pictures. So now you're taking it to Richardson. That's pretty cool. So the city itself is coming and saying, hey, look, or is it
It's a private investor on that one.
Okay.
It's Manasseh Durkin.
City developers. So pretty cool though.
Yeah, absolutely. From a business perspective, it's pretty awesome. So let's go. Can you kind of walk us through where you started? How did you come up with this? Okay, I want to help kids in art. Kind of fill people in on who you are. You're a business guy.
Yeah.
You have a big thriving business. Kind of fill everybody in on how you ended up starting this 501, being the founder, the executive director, and just kind of fill people in on your heart.
Okay, so what happened is that, I would drive by the shopping center every day and it was just an eyesore and I got tired of looking at it. So I'm on the Bedford Cultural Commission. So we started the storefront gallery program up. And from there, we did about a year of that and started to see some progress because What's Popping Texas moved in and we had a couple more businesses move in. And the shopping center got sold. And I was afraid that they were going to discontinue this whole program. And that was our whole core focus right there. So I rented a space and I started Central Arts. And at first I had no idea what I was doing because I was just, it's a nonprofit art center. And it was like, okay, what's my direction? And then about a year into it, I met Sergio, and Sergio came on board and really just helped us out and just kind of gave us a little bit more structure and direction on that. Because you were working with artists, and a lot of artists just have this mindset that they're just going to show up and everyone's just going to buy their work and not understand it. But when you've had an artist that's done nothing but be a working artist his entire life, and he starts teaching them how to develop, and you watch guys that just kind of popped out of the community that started painting, they kind of did it as a hobby, but now they're actually making serious money doing it. And that's really exciting to see that.
Yeah, because are there a lot of people out there helping starving artists figure out how to make money?
Well, I'm going to nix that term right away.
Okay.
Starving artist, I don't believe in.
Okay.
You want to be an artist, be a working artist. You'll never starve.
Yeah.
That romanticism of the struggling artist is something I've raged against my entire career. And that's the attitude I brought. I came to Central Arts as a nomadic artist. I relocated from Houston in 2016. I knew one person kinda in the city. I was living in Fort Worth. I didn't know where to show, so I did what I knew how to do, which was ask people if I can use their parking lots. And Josh came across me at the Arlington festival, down Main Street, and he didn't have a card. I didn't know my geography. I didn't know where Bedford was. I knew Dallas and Fort Worth.
Right. And you were in Arlington right in the middle.
And I was like, man, I don't remember the name of that city either. I never heard from him until a year later. He runs into me at Arts Goggle in Fort Worth, and he's like, you never called me. And I was like, you didn't have a card, dude.
Yeah, and that goes to show the green. That really shows our greenness there, because we were just, we're trying to like figure out how to make everything work. And I'm kind of arrogant enough to believe that everyone knew where Bedford was. And
Well, I especially did not. And so yeah, and so that time I got an email and there's a show. So I went and I still have a picture. I had a little table outside of Central Arts, and then I had one piece in the show. And that's how I started. I was just looking for, actually that day, strangely enough, was the day my twins were born.
Okay.
And so I was realizing that I had already been lugging around who's now a 4-year-old. I'd already been lugging that child around festivals, but I realized with 2 more, I couldn't really do that anymore. I needed a home.
Yeah.
And so that's what Central Arts initially was to me, and it's what it is to anybody who wants that. That's a creative that wants to come in and they want a venue to refine whatever it is they're working on.
Maybe be a part of a family, be a part of a community of artists that are growing and
It's
evolving.
beneficial. For 37 years prior to having children, I raged alone. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm glad children change things.
Sure.
They change your thinking, they change your consciousness, and that certainly happened to me. But I'm glad for what art has always done for me. Central Arts is a big part of that. Yeah. And I just want to give that to other people. But like I said, it starts with the artist. If we make us strong, then we can do things in the community that are powerful.
What do you do on a daily basis for Central Arts now? Like, kind of walk us through your day. It's.
I create a project every 5 minutes. No.
That's a lot of creativity.
Well, it's funny because we it's only been 3 years. 2016 is when I landed there. That was November, something like that.
yeah, because we were only around for about a year when you came about.
Yeah, and so like 5 months in, we get 501c status. I still didn't know what that was. Mm-hmm. I had received grants all my life, but I didn't really understand what a nonprofit did. Right. So that was interesting, but it I lost my tangent here.
That's okay.
But
We're here being creative.
Yeah. I forgot what I was saying.
It's crazy, like how we started all this stuff happening, and it's just these little wheels just started rolling, and then all of a sudden we're like local celebrities because we're at everything and we're popping up, and he's everywhere. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. So like as far as projects, what begins to happen is people appreciate what you're doing, and so pretty daily, I have people come to me with ideas. Can we do this program? Can we do? And that's my day-to-day, is listening to the community. I do go out and I network in the Chamber of Commerce heavily. Okay. And my ear is just to the ground, I guess. Seeing what people want, because we do help. I guess children are the most salient thing, but it's also their parents. It's also somebody who maybe needs an outlet. Yeah. It's all manners of people. My brother is helping us run Central Arts Hearst right now. He's the gallery manager, and I tell him, I'm like, don't forget that it's not just the kids. The parents are a client too. Yeah. They get happy just coming in here sometimes. Sure. And sometimes it is just about making them all feel good.
Do you feel that we're in such a digital world that, like, for instance, I don't know a ton of artists. You know what I mean? I know some musicians, which are a form of art, and I don't know physical artists necessarily like you, and like you, who can sit down and do a painting or do a drawing and you go, wow, how did you do that? Just because the world is so digital now. It's interesting to meet people like y'all that can literally make stuff like art has been for so long, You
would probably be shocked at how many people you probably do know that have some type of creative.
Yeah, everywhere we go, someone's like, hey, I'm an artist. I do this, I paint this, or I've done that. Really? Yeah. Like at Richardson, when we were setting up, the bartender's like, hey, I paint.
And that's the idea. Central Arts should be everywhere. You can go 10 miles this way, 10 miles that way. There are creatives there.
Yeah.
There are people wanting to do something.
Right.
Even when we opened the Hearst location, it's funny because I get it now. At first I was like, 'cause there was this influx of like interest, and they all lived in the area. And Bedford, it's not too far, but one day, Josh, we were in the gallery at Hearst, and he said, well, we've got that stuff at Bedford, and now I live across the street from Hearst. And I'm like, man, that's so far. It's like 9 minutes.
Yeah. Can we make it closer?
But that demonstrates the need for, if it's around your corner, if it's on your block, then it's more like home, isn't it?
Yeah, you go, and Hearst and Bedford feel completely different. Hearst has more of a college campus art class environment, and Bedford's a little bit more structured, just because of the nature of the build out of the building. So one of the things I had to start thinking about is like, instead of treating it like a big corporation where it has like A, B, C, D, it's more like a library where it just kind of does what the community needs it to be. Okay. So Bedford does a lot of concerts. It does a lot of experimental stuff. So we did a comedy night. We did a spoken word night. We'll do classes. We'll do a lot of adult stuff. Whereas Hearst becomes more of the special needs. And
it's just the design of Hearst, front of the house is gallery space. Mm-hmm. And on gallery night, it's a totally different world. And it's a place where artists can exhibit and sell their work and meet the public. Okay. And then, so it's 2,800 square feet. It's narrow. And then the back of the house, it's studio space. And we don't really run classes there per se. Our after school, our summer programming, even our special needs programming is designed more like an artist would work in their space.
Like a workshop kind of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Versus a class.
Yeah, and you've got all the tools, all the equipment, all the paint, all the pastels, everything you could ever imagine over at Hearst. And it's just available. You could just go over there right now, pick up whatever you wanted to work on, just start working on it.
And at first there's hesitancy, because I think in school we're taught to be told what to do. And so here there's just freedom. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, most of the time people just go with it. Mm-hmm. But sometimes there is apprehension, but it's quickly overcome because it's fun, because that is what art is. At the end of it, it is fun. And if it stops being that, then I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it goes back to just being business.
Yeah. I started, I was teaching for 5 years. I was taught art. And the moment I saw Sergio summer camp, I was like, dang, I did it all wrong. I should just let the kids explore versus, having the structure. Because
no wrong. I mean, there's different ways people do things. Like I personally can't sit here and help you paint a rose. I will lose interest, and that's not fair to you.
Sure.
So, but I can sit beside you and paint my version, and maybe you'll get ideas. And that's the idea at Hearst. We have a dedicated core of artists that volunteer. I'm there as much as I can be. My schedule's in between everything else, but I love it. I love it when I'm there because I think it's the way I learned coming up. Mm-hmm. I did take instruction, but I also just watched everyone around me. I looked at everything around me. I devoured museums. I was just naturally curious. And I think that's not something that you can necessarily teach other than by example. And that's all we do in that space, I think.
But you're helping the kids and the people that are coming to Central Arts. You're kind of giving them that concept and that philosophy to help them explore what it is that's coming out of their brains and their hearts to be creative versus maybe a class. I'm not a class guy, If you say, hey, come here and go to this class, this wall goes up and I'm like, dude, did you say class? I'm out.
I'm not a class teacher because I hate that, because people will be like, well, what am I supposed to do next? I'm like, I don't know. What are you supposed to do next?
There you go. You're here to create.
Yeah, you're just supposed to
keep going.
Well, how would you do it?
Yeah, in contrast, I like class. I like going to class. But can I teach it? No.
Yeah. I couldn't teach it, and I wasn't that good of a student, So it's interesting the conceptual thought process of bringing art to families, to kids, to special needs children, and putting together programs for them, and then summer camps. Can you talk a little bit about the summer camps? Because I know summer camps is a crazy busy time.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a crazy busy venture.
it is a crazy. And from what I understand, one of the big needs is the amount of art supplies that you go through in a summer camp, and the need for art supplies and the need for people to come and help while these are going on. This is kind of there's a true need. So can you kind of walk people through what a summer camp looks like and the amount of stuff you guys go through?
So the first summer camp day, I get over there and I'm just coming in from doing quotes. Like, Sergio's got 40 kids in there, and it's just.
Let's preface though.
Yes, let's preface.
The night.
Oh yes, the night.
So what happened is that wasn't even like, I looked at the calendar the other day. Your Facebook looks back, and I looked to a year ago or so. The idea of Central Arts of Hearst was just a conversation.
It hadn't even been a conversation.
It was a conversation. It was an idea. So, and then it happened quickly, and City Council of Hearst meets, and they say, yeah, you have 2,800 square feet to run programming.
Which we didn't ask for. It was all of a sudden just given to us.
Well, I mean, we
Because they see a need.
accepted.
We definitely lovingly accepted.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it was. We were at a meeting, and they're like, hey, if we give you 2,800 square feet, can you do something with it? And I'm like, yeah, we could do something.
We can make it look really cool and have a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the space was lovingly called the bowling alley because it's just really long and narrow.
Just a rectangle.
Yeah, and it's one of those difficult spaces to rent because it's like, well, what are you going to put there?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so
Yeah, we had like no electrical and no plumbing.
but we didn't. We're like, okay, cool. And then we built up to a soft opening like April 27th, I think.
Yeah.
And so that just the front part, when it was a little art show, it felt more like our storefront thing, except Josh like did out the walls and lighting. It looks we can rival a lot of galleries in the Metroplex as far as like how slick we look.
Right.
And it was cool. But then, we still, that was an informal thing. We still had to get all our stuff in order, but we also had put the goal on ourselves that June 3rd summer programming would start. And we'd done summer programming before, but this was our first real deal crack at it. And so it's like we crash landed, and we didn't quite know what we were doing at first.
That's okay. Fake it till you make it.
I had the idea, but because part of it's like, we get this free space, and the idea is that they want the community there. And, I especially thought about the cost of summer camp.
Which a lot of kids can't afford.
Say even if it's like 30 a kid. I have some parents that were walking in and they have 5 kids. You think those 5 kids are going to summer camp? No. Okay, but if it's $6,
And yeah, that will work.
yeah. And even if it doesn't, we'll waive that. And
When you see the need, right?
Yeah, nobody walks away without.
but I mean, it just, because of the format, I knew what we wanted. We wanted this open area where they could just express and create. Yeah. But now we have a handle on it. But at first, those were the most fun weeks.
Those were awesome weeks.
It was chaos, but all the kids were happy, our adults were happy. I'm like, okay, as long as that continues, we're good. Yeah. But but we did have to wrangle it in a bit, and now we have good order to it. But getting there, it's chaos. And you haven't seen the space?
No, No, just on the website and
Children are
having
allowed to
discussions
paint
with
on the
Josh about it.
walls. It's I guess it's like a creative.
It's a
Lord of
creative.
the Flies.
It's like a it's like a playground.
For creativity.
Yes, and it's funny because I go in there and this kid's flinging paint on the wall, and she's just going to town, and then Sergio's all, "No, you want to do it this way."
Well, and it was funny to see their apprehension, like they're gonna get in trouble. I'm like, no, like you fling it this way, and then you get more coverage. But and that's part of it. I mean, I think, especially like thinking back to my childhood, you know, if you were in something like that, you weren't allowed to do any of that. Sure. But that's part of the process.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do want to do something like that. That is technique.
Yeah.
And so let them be free to explore, because you would see most kids would go in there and they do that, or they mix the paint and create purple or brown, which is fascinating. Yes. But then it's like, okay, they're there for a few days. It's like, well, what now? And then that's where the light bulbs come on. And then they start really making stuff.
We had classes at Bedford and we had classes at Hearst. And the kids that were really structured stayed at Bedford. The kids that needed that looseness went to Hearst. And it was awesome to see that, because you saw kids that were just like, yeah, I can paint on the walls and I can do this and I can do that. And then they come to Bedford for a little bit and they learn a little bit more technique, and then they'll go back to Hearst. So they were going back and forth between the two locations.
Cool. Are they having classes every day, every other day? How often can you do this with the amount of volunteers you have right now?
Right now, we run after school Monday through Friday, 3:30 to 5:30. That includes a meal, if it's wanted. The after school, it's a little harder, and I'm looking into ways, because initially when we started that, there was a lot of questions about transportation. We're not at a point where we can have a Central Arts bus, sure, which would be great if we could provide that.
So are we looking for a donor with a bus?
Well, there's I need to research another nonprofit, HEB Transit, which gets people places, and I don't know. I'm gonna start there, but yeah, somebody with a school bus.
Hey, dude, you never know. There could be somebody sitting there with a school bus going, I don't know what, I bought it at an auction. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's possible.
But it's a little harder for people to get their kids to after school programming, I think. So we don't have, whereas at summer, they're looking for something to do. Parents are looking for programming, and they have delegated that time to make that happen. Whereas when you're dealing with school, and I know this because my little ones they've already started. So I get up at 7:50, or I leave the first one at 7:50, pick her up at 10:50, go back at 11:50 to drop my oldest off, and then pick him up at 2:50. So that's what a parent's schedule looks like.
Right.
And so getting them to after school programming isn't as easy as it is for summer, but we are open, we are available, and if it's 1 or 10 students, the doors are open for them to have that there. It is an option, and we have our regulars. We have we get so much gratitude that it's embarrassing, because it's like I tell them, I'm doing this. I have kids. This is my community. Yeah. And I just want what I would want for my kids to be out there.
Right. What's going on with? He mentioned, or maybe you mentioned, food for the kids after. Can you walk me through that? One
of our friends owns this company called Equal Hearts. That's another nonprofit. You'll actually be meeting with them today. Yeah. And we did a spray foam job for them, and we just started talking. And I was like really impressed because they had this big fleet of vehicles. And I asked, hey, so what are y'all doing here? And they said they donate food to the community. So they'll take boxes of food from Trader Joe's that were about to go bad, and they'll just make sure it gets distributed instead of destroyed. So I told her about the summer camp program, and she's like, you need volunteers? And we're like, yeah, we need volunteers. And she's like, do you need food? And we're like, sure.
All day, right?
Yeah. And so she's like, yeah, let's do this. So we set up a program. So during summer camp, they get a meal. During after school program, they get a meal. So we make sure that we're also feeding the community at the same time.
How many of the kids need the meal versus just want the meal? Like, give us an idea of the demographic, maybe.
I mean, if a kid
We never
shows
even
up,
asked.
we don't, and that was
If the kids are hungry, they eat.
when we first started this, people would talk about underprivileged, and so I was like, we're gonna not do that because it's $6 whether you get dropped off in a Lexus or you walk here.
Gotcha.
You're shoulder to shoulder with everyone,
Yeah.
and if you can't afford it, you're still in there.
Gotcha.
Because it's programming for everybody, and
Which is important.
which is kind of cool when some parents will just give us more sometimes.
Sure.
Just
'Cause
they're
they
like
appreciate
they're
it,
like
yeah.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I'm writing this amount.
What's cool too is I grew up in a neighborhood kind of like Hearst. So we would walk around the shopping centers and we would just kind of figure out what to do. And, you get in stupid trouble. And a couple of my friends got busted for shoplifting and everything else like that. So when we got this opportunity in the shopping center, we're like, let's curb all this. So let's give the kids something to do. Let's give it like there's no excuse for these kids to be wandering around.
Well, that was Hearst. Credit to them, to the city of Hearst. That is why we're there, is because you do see a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and slowly
They see cool stuff.
Yeah.
getting them in there.
Now, I also know that y'all do some digital stuff. You're working with some of the kids are making short movies and little commercials and things like that, right? Can y'all talk a little bit about that?
We've been working with some of the kids from the college. They did a video on us about the work we do in the concert scenes, and that was their student project. And Sergio and his group, they make these awesome little videos for every show, and they parody some kind of movie. And what's awesome about that is you start to see like people that were really shy come out of their skin, and then they just become themselves, and they become this character.
Well, it's funny. So that is myself, Juan Zamora, and Teal's sons, and back in the infancy of Central Arts, they were the artists I could count on to bring new work for the shows. Because I said, we show new work each time. We don't show the same recycled thing that we've been trying to sell for 10 years.
Gotcha.
Because I've seen a lot of shows like that.
Sure.
And to me, it's part of the work ethic. Every day that I wake up, I create at least one piece.
Wow.
At least one. That's been my ethic for, I can't remember how long. I don't know how old I am.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it.
But we started to do these pop-ups, and if you don't know, are you familiar with the pop-up?
Sure, the concept.
Yeah, I could pop up over there,
Yeah.
make a little booth. I'm selling art. I'm
Yeah.
talking about my art. So we would do that heavily. I was like, we need to do that heavily in this HEB area, wherever we can. So we were in front of Thrifty Pirate when that was still a thrift shop. The awareness anywhere, and people will ask sometimes, and we'll just go do it. So, but the three of us were heavily doing that, and Juan and I were at one where it was just miserably hot. No one's there. We're dying. But this guy walks over from the car wash, and he's like, wow, this is really cool, and I'm talking to him a bit with the little bit of consciousness I have left. And
As you boil.
and he's like, where are you guys from? And I'm like, well, we're from here. We're Mid-Cities artists. And he's like, is that what you call yourselves? And I said, yes, sir. And so Mid-Cities Artist was born, and that's
Okay.
That's their little brand for that, and it's awesome.
So y'all use that brand for?
And so the videos are, it's us, and we always say it's like more obnoxious versions of ourselves.
Right.
And we do it to promote the shows, and it works. It's weird because we're just doing it to goof around, really. But then it's like, okay, well, these are good marketing pieces.
Can people see those videos on y'all's website?
You can look through the archives, and yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think the funniest one is they did a parody of the Selena movie.
That's one of my favorites.
That was like that's when you guys really hit stride on that.
Well, the thing is, yeah, at first we were just experimenting, but then I was like, this is a really positive way to brand ourselves because we've made it mid-city specific. We'll heavily reference the geography.
Right.
There'll always be a Twizzler.
We did a Reservoir Dogs knockoff, and so we changed there was Nice Guy Santillian we referenced, and then we have a scuffle, and I tell him he must be a big Cindy Shepherd fan, and she's on city council. Okay. And it's like, and so the last scene is we're waiting on someone. It's like, and we're waiting, and it's like, why? It's like, because as Mayor Wilson said so. It's like, you talk to the mayor. So,
You're just bringing in all the local characters and making it kind of fun.
And so, making drawing tourism here, which was the original idea with Arts Front in Bedford. Yeah. That was a cultural commission thing, and former Mayor Griffin's idea to make the area more attractive, and Ray Champney, of course, who I never got to meet.
Yeah, Ray Champney was awesome.
But it was. I just hear it from Josh, but he was inspired from Greenwich Village, New York. He's like, why can't it be like that here? I'm like, well, you have to work to make that happen, and that's what the videos are about. But yeah, we have like Girl Scouts asking if we can help with their videos and stuff. So you'll see a lot of creativity come from that, and that's all it is. It is very much like planting something, and then it grows. Yeah.
So let's talk about what kind of needs y'all have as far as who you need currently to help Central Arts grow and become what you want it to be in the future. Everybody needs money. Typical, for any 501c3, it's a nonprofit organization. It doesn't, it's not like you're making a bunch of money and you can fund it for forever, right? Your classes are super cheap for the kids and for the current people that are coming to the classes. They're very affordable. Plus, you're helping the community when they can't afford it, right? You know you need art supplies. You and I have talked about that. Art supplies are huge. Money to fund it, and then volunteers, and then what am I missing? And then talk about maybe the volunteers that you need to help kind of fill, because it takes a lot of people to do what you guys do.
See, that's a larger. It's I think always difficult to pinpoint, but I think in general what we need is if there's somebody out there and they're watching and they like the idea of what we're doing, is to come meet us and come have that conversation, because everybody can help. It's just you can maybe help in different ways. Money's great. We love money, but maybe it's the handshake that'll get us there. Maybe somebody in a corporation that would appreciate what we're doing, that has a budget for that.
Maybe a Sherwin-Williams, somebody in the paint business.
Oh, Sherwin-Williams hooks us up all the time. We do a lot of work with, since I'm in construction, I will pick up like wood, scraps and everything. And the kids are awesome with that, because they start building like when we were kids. They start getting a hammer and a nail and they start making stuff. And it's just a lost trade. So like little things like recyclables, like we try to do a lot of recycling on everything we do. So
Hearst is pretty much completely upcycled. And the supplies we can always use. We'll never turn that away. Yeah. Things that are in your house that maybe you think are junk, old magazines, that type of thing. Bring us your junk. I would like to look through it and take a look and see what the kids can make out of it. Yeah.
And if if it doesn't go to us, it goes to the Wellman Project, because they have a motto, which is fill a classroom and not a landfill. So we hit that up at least once a month just to grab supplies from there.
I think the biggest potential we see right now is the storefront project. Like I said, we're working in Richardson. Yeah. If you know of a developer, a property owner, or somebody with a property like this, and you like the idea of what we're doing, share it with them, or give us a handshake, or start that conversation. Right. Yeah. Because, that is, a really good fundraiser for us.
Well, off the money we got paid from Richardson, we're able to fund pretty much a big chunk of our fall classes right there.
Oh, that's huge.
But also, it helps whatever area. It helps the developer or the property owner or that community.
Yeah.
And we have the know-how. We've been doing it. We'd like to do more of it, so that we can continue to do what we do. And if that keeps spreading, I think it's a positive thing. But I think that would be the strongest referral.
That's cool. And, that's not something, like when I think about it, just having you guys in and starting to understand how deep that's going and how the other cities are starting to look at it. They look at it as development. That's really cool to hear that. So, hey, you never know, somebody out there with a whether you're at the city or you have a strip center that you want to try to revitalize. I mean, and there's tons of that here. It's all over DFW. Those are all over the country. So when you start thinking conceptually, how do you take art, build it into the community, bring in and help children and parents? I mean, it's super unique what you guys are doing. I love it. It's really interesting to me. So really appreciate you guys coming out. I know y'all got busy schedules. You got companies to run. You got families to take care of and do all the things that you guys do on a daily basis and build out more art centers. I mean, it's
more projects.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Absolutely, because you're creating something every day, which is amazing to me. So I just want to say thank you for coming. Hopefully, we find some people who have a passion for art and see the benefit and understand, all the things that art can bring to a community, help kids, help families, and economic development, which is, conceptually, that's very interesting. There are businessmen out there and businesswomen that go, wow, they may have never thought about it like that, to fill up a space with something creative and new and draw traffic, so hey, you just never know, who's gonna hit our site, find you guys, and so very interesting.
Thank you for creating this platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for caring.
Thank you.
'Cause
Hey, I appreciate that.
That is that's key. We all need to care about each other and whatever our respective passions are. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing this. I'm glad to hear
Thank you.
you're talking to our friends at Equal Hearts, and
Yep.
maybe I can put some other names your way.
Would love to. The artistic space, I think there's probably, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of knowledge out there. There's not a lot of showcasing, in some of the thought processes, so I would love to, anybody that y'all know of, that y'all work with, that you trust, and you've been doing projects and things with, I love to talk to them just because I'm interested.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.